You know what you want, but nothing is moving. The application has been submitted, yet no answer comes. The desire to serve is alive, yet the ministry door remains closed. The relationship carries possibility, yet clarity and mutual commitment remain absent. The vision has lived within you for years, yet resources, recognition, and a practical opening have not appeared. This is the ache of internal clarity meeting external silence. Inside, the picture may be vivid. You can name the work, imagine the responsibility, and feel the urgency. Outside, timing belongs to someone else. Permission depends on decisions you cannot make. Resources remain beyond your reach. Recognition refuses to arrive on command. You possess desire, but you do not possess the calendar. And silence is rarely silent in the mind. It begins to suggest conclusions. No response feels like rejection. No progress feels like failure. No clarity feels like abandonment. Another month feels like wasted time. Someone else's movement awakens the fear that you are being left behind. But pay attention. These are interpretations of the delay. They are not necessarily facts about your life. Waiting is painful because it leaves room for fear to become an unauthorized narrator. Fear takes an unanswered question and writes a final chapter. It turns restraint into irrelevance, delay into defeat, loss into identity, and silence into a verdict. Yet the absence of visible movement does not prove the absence of meaningful work. This is why the struggle with waiting reaches so deeply. People wrestle with silence, restraint, delay, loss, and fear because these conditions confront the limits of personal control. Not every closed door carries a hidden supernatural explanation. Not every postponed desire guarantees a later reward. But every uncertain season forces a decision about meaning. Will you allow what you cannot control to define what you can still do? That is the governing question. What can a purposeful person build when timing remains outside personal control? The answer will not come through prediction. We will not invent a date, announce an imminent breakthrough, or pretend that preparation can force a particular outcome. The answer is preparation without presumption. Developing character, competence, planning, relationships, and capacity while leaving timing unclaimed. Your impatience is real, but it does not have to govern you. Your disappointment deserves honesty, but it does not deserve authority. The danger is not merely that movement has stopped. The danger begins when you mistake an uncontrollable delay for proof that purposeful action is impossible. You may lack movement and still possess direction. And that distinction changes how you wait. The first act of purposeful waiting is to name your condition accurately. Delay means the desired event has not happened. It means the answer has not arrived. The permission has not been given. The commitment has not been made, or the resources have not become available. Delay describes an external circumstance. It tells you what has not occurred. It does not tell you who you must become while it remains unresolved. Directionlessness is different. Directionlessness begins when you abandon chosen principles, neglect meaningful priorities, and cease constructive development because the outcome is uncertain. Delay says, the opening has not occurred. Directionlessness says, therefore I have no responsible way to live today. One concerns timing, the other concerns stewardship. Do not confuse them. You may be unable to determine when an opportunity appears, but you can determine whether this season produces discipline or disorder, maturity or resentment, preparation or decay. The date may remain beyond your authority, while your development remains within it. That is the distinction. Timing asks when something will happen. Direction asks who you are becoming and what you are building before anything happens. But this truth exposes two opposite errors. The first is passivity pretending to be patience. It waits without learning, avoids decisions, neglects responsibilities, and calls inactivity trust. The second is panic pretending to be faithfulness. It fills every hour, pursues every possibility, forces every conversation, and mistakes exhaustion for progress. Passivity refuses to move without certainty. Panic moves everywhere because certainty is absent. Neither is purposeful preparation. Purposeful waiting is quieter and stronger. It does not sit down in surrender, and it does not run in fear. It chooses principles before emotions, priorities before pressure, and useful action before restless motion. It prepares because preparation is responsible. not because preparation can purchase a guaranteed result. Let the boundary be plain. This message will not declare that your breakthrough is imminent. It will not interpret silence as a secret promise. It will not attach divine certainty to an outcome for which no certainty has been given. Preparation is not a transaction by which you force tomorrow to reward you. Hope must become more sober than prediction. Hope is the confidence that faithful preparation today retains value even when tomorrow cannot be certified. What you build may serve the opportunity you desire, redirect you toward another assignment, or strengthen you for a future you cannot yet describe. Its value does not depend upon your ability to forecast the result. So stop asking only, when will this change? Ask also, what direction am I choosing while it has not changed? Once that question is honest, agency begins to return. Uncertainty may remain, but helplessness no longer has to rule. The next task is to identify precisely where responsible action is still possible. Responsible action becomes visible when you draw a boundary around your authority. Imagine two columns. In the first place, everything you cannot govern: another person's decision, institutional permission, market timing, public recognition, and the exact date circumstances will change. These matters may affect your future, but they are not yours to command. Stop disguising them as assignments. In the second column, place what remains available to your stewardship: character, competence, planning, relationships, and capacity. You may not control the decision, but you can refine the person who will respond to it. You may not control the opening, but you can strengthen the structure that would meet it. Purpose develops through disciplined stewardship of what remains controllable. This boundary does not remove disappointment. It prevents disappointment from misdirecting your energy. When you pour energy into the first column, you attempt to manage minds you do not own, systems you do not lead, and dates you cannot set. That effort soon becomes anxiety when control fails, resentment when others delay, comparison when someone advances, or manipulation when pressure seems easier than patience. But energy invested in the second column becomes preparation. The same intensity that once rehearsed what others should do can now examine what you must build. The same imagination that produced fearful outcomes can now identify present requirements. Attention moves away from the entrance you cannot unlock and toward the person and structure you can develop. Therefore, bring every frustrated desire under one diagnostic question: what does this future responsibility require that I can begin building now? Not, how can I look ready? Not, how can I remain busy until something changes? Ask what the responsibility actually requires. This matters because motion alone is not direction. You can attend, produce, contact, study, volunteer, schedule, and still avoid the preparation that exposes your weakness. Activity becomes useful only when it connects to a genuine demand of the responsibility you desire. If the work requires judgment, develop judgment. If it requires skill, practice skill. If it requires consistency, build a rhythm. Busyness consumes time. Preparation closes a real gap. The map has 5 connected domains. Character sustains responsibility when pressure tests motives and habits. Competence performs the work with credibility. Planning directs effort without pretending to control results. Relationships provide correction, trust, support, and places to contribute. Capacity carries the recurring weight through time, systems, health, margin, and reliable rhythms. Do not reduce these domains to 5 inspirational boxes. They form one preparation system. Competence without character can become dangerous. Planning without capacity collapses under execution. Relationships without teachability become instruments of access. Capacity without direction merely enlarges disorder. Now the waiting season has boundaries, questions, and work. Begin at the foundation. Before future responsibility tests what you can do publicly, delay is already revealing what governs you privately. Character is not built by visibility. It is revealed by pressure and strengthened by practice. An opportunity may change your position, but it does not automatically change your patterns. Greater responsibility often amplifies what already governs you. If impatience controls you in obscurity, influence may give impatience a wider reach. If insecurity requires constant reassurance, recognition may increase your dependence on applause. If dishonesty protects your image now, authority may simply provide more places to hide it. Do not expect the role to cure what the waiting season is exposing. Waiting functions as a mirror. Watch yourself when you are overlooked. Listen to your speech when you are corrected. Examine your posture when someone contradicts you. Notice what happens when you must continue doing good work without acknowledgement. These moments reveal whether your integrity depends on attention, whether your discipline depends on excitement, and whether your service depends on being seen. This is not an invitation to condemn yourself. Pain is information, not proof of personal worthlessness. An unfair decision does not mean you are defective. A closed opportunity does not mean every fault belongs to you. Delay may arise from circumstances, systems, or choices that have nothing to do with your character. But even when the obstacle is not your fault, your response remains your responsibility. Therefore, replace bitterness with boundaries. Bitterness allows an injury to govern your inner life. Boundaries identify what you will no longer permit while preserving your integrity. Replace envy with learning. Another person's progress need not become evidence against your future. It can reveal what you respect, what you lack, or what you must stop comparing. Replace complaint with honest evaluation. Name what hurts, identify what is unjust, and then decide what truth requires from you. Replace self-neglect with steady discipline. Eat, rest, work, reflect, and keep essential commitments even when emotion offers no reward. Once each week, conduct a character audit. Ask, where did frustration govern my speech? Where did comparison distort my judgment? When did correction make me defensive? What promise, routine, or responsibility did I keep when nobody rewarded me? Then choose one replacement response for the coming week. Apologize where your words caused harm. Reinstate one neglected routine. Receive one correction without explaining yourself away. Keep one quiet commitment simply because it is right. Character preparation does not require passive tolerance of mistreatment. You may confront, withdraw, report, refuse, or establish distance where wisdom demands it. The issue is not whether you protect yourself. The issue is whether another person's conduct is permitted to determine your honesty, discipline, restraint, and dignity. That is character capable of surviving opportunity. Not perfection, but self-government under pressure. Yet integrity alone cannot perform the work. Once the inner life is being governed, the next question becomes unavoidable. Has your desire been matched by demonstrable ability? Desire can reveal direction, but desire cannot prove readiness. Wanting the responsibility is not the same as being able to serve its requirements. Passion may begin the journey. Disciplined learning makes you reliable. The question is no longer merely, do I want this? The question is, what must I be able to do well for this responsibility to be served well? Deconstruct the role. Remove the title, the recognition, and the imagined moment of arrival. What remains? Identify the skills the work demands, the knowledge it assumes, the judgment it tests, the communication it requires, and the standard of execution by which usefulness becomes visible. A role is a name. Responsibility is a set of demands. If you study only the name, you may admire the position. When you study the demands, you discover your assignment for today. The career seeker need not wait for a hiring decision to produce evidence. Build a relevant portfolio, complete a realistic project, solve a representative problem, and document the result. The aspiring ministry leader need not possess a platform to study carefully, serve consistently, and practice communicating truth with clarity. The person seeking relational clarity can develop the ability to speak honestly, listen without manipulation, ask direct questions, and maintain wise boundaries. The visionary can test a small version of the idea, observe where it fails, and improve what reality exposes. This is how longing becomes usefulness, not through imagination alone, but through practice that can be examined. Choose one skill connected to the responsibility. Perform it under realistic conditions. Obtain feedback from someone qualified to assess the work. Identify one weakness, correct it, and perform the task again. Do not collect 10 criticisms and collapse beneath them. Do not seek praise from people unable to judge the standard. Practice, feedback, correction, repetition. That cycle converts vague ambition into observable growth. But beware of another disguise. Endless preparation can become concealment. You can keep reading because producing might expose you. You can keep taking courses because service might reveal inconsistency. You can keep revising because a decision might be judged. Learning is necessary, but learning that never produces an artifact, improves a service, informs a decision, or changes performance has become consumption. Preparation should humble you, then test you. It should not provide a permanent hiding place. Create a readiness ledger with 3 headings: what the responsibility requires, what can already be demonstrated, and what must be developed next. Be specific. Do not write better communication. Name the conversation, presentation, explanation, or written work you must perform. Do not write more experience. Name the task you need to complete and the evidence it should produce. Then select one measurable competence building project you can begin without permission. Your opportunity may remain uncertain, but your usefulness need not remain invisible to you. Purposeful waiting turns desire into evidence of growing usefulness. Yet even valuable practice can scatter when everything feels urgent. Once you know what must be developed, you must decide what comes first, what follows, and what belongs on a calendar that makes no claim over the outcome. Planning begins where urgency accepts order. You cannot develop every weakness at once, pursue every route at once, or treat every unfinished task as equally important. When everything becomes a priority, nothing receives the concentration required for growth. Sequence is not neglect. Sequence is disciplined attention. A plan governs chosen action. A prediction claims knowledge about events beyond your control. A plan says, I will complete this work by this date. A prediction says, because I completed it, the opportunity will arrive by this date. The first establishes responsibility. The second manufactures certainty. Give your actions deadlines. Do not give uncertainty a false appointment. Take the next need identified in your readiness ledger and build a 90-day preparation cycle around it. Choose one capability goal, an ability you intend to strengthen. Choose one completed output, something finished that demonstrates applied work. Choose one relationship investment, a person you will learn from, support, or communicate with consistently. Choose one capacity improvement, a rhythm, system, or boundary that makes the work sustainable. Keep the cycle bounded. One capability, one output, one relational commitment, one operating improvement. You may notice 20 needs, but concentration requires selection. Ask, which development would make the greatest responsible difference now? Then decide what must begin first, what depends on it, and what can wait without being abandoned. Measure stewardship, not applause. Record hours of deliberate practice, work completed, feedback incorporated, conversations initiated, and systems established. These measures remain within your authority. External approval may come quickly, slowly, differently, or not at all. But you can still know whether you practice honestly, finish what you assigned, listen to correction, initiated appropriate contact, and strengthened the structure supporting your effort. Then establish review points. At regular intervals, examine the evidence and choose deliberately. Continue, revise, pause, or release. Continuing is not always courage. Releasing is not always failure. Sometimes persistence reflects conviction. Sometimes it protects pride from admitting that reality has taught you something. Do not remain loyal to a strategy merely because you have already spent time on it. Past investment deserves evaluation, not automatic control over future investment. A blocked method does not automatically cancel the underlying purpose. But a cherished purpose does not make every method wise. The work may remain valid while the route must change. The responsibility may remain meaningful while the schedule, scale, sequence, or approach requires revision. Maturity holds direction firmly and method humbly. When timing anxiety returns, replace forecasting with this declaration: I will prepare for the responsibility I can see, review what reality teaches me, and refuse to assign a date to what I do not control. That is faithful planning, specific about obedience, modest about outcomes, and courageous enough to revise. Yet no serious purpose develops through private planning alone. Your work must now enter relationships where it can be corrected, supported, and made useful to others. Purpose develops among people because responsibility eventually affects people, serves people, and depends upon people. Yet when desire becomes impatient, relationships can be reduced to strategy. You begin evaluating every person by one question: can this person open a door for me? Then conversation becomes performance. Kindness becomes currency, and attention becomes an investment demanding a return. People are not instruments of your advancement. Purpose loses integrity when human beings become rungs beneath your ambition. Healthy relationships are not ladders to purpose. They are places where purpose is corrected, practiced, and made useful. Different relationships perform different functions. Mentors clarify blind spots you cannot see from inside your own intentions. Peers normalize practice, expose excuses, and sustain accountability when enthusiasm weakens. Collaborators combine strengths, allowing shared work to exceed isolated ability. Communities reveal whether what you are building actually helps anyone. A private idea may feel impressive. Service tests whether it is understandable, relevant, responsible, and useful. Therefore, stop asking only who can help me advance. Ask, who can help me see clearly, practice honestly, and contribute responsibly? Then become the kind of person who strengthens the relationship rather than merely extracting from it. Request precise feedback. Do not ask, what do you think of me? Ask, where does this work become unclear? Or what habit reduces my reliability? Offer concrete help without attaching a hidden invoice. Honor another person's time, limits, and right to decline. Follow through on small commitments, because trust is usually established before major responsibility arrives. Maintain relationships that offer no immediate advantage. The person who values others only when they are useful has not learned usefulness. That person has learned calculation. This principle also governs relationship uncertainty itself. When you desire clarity or commitment, do not invent signs to escape the discomfort of not knowing. Clarity grows through honest questions, observable consistency, mutual willingness, and respect for another person's freedom. Attention is not commitment. Possibility is not agreement. Hope may invite a conversation, but it cannot speak on another person's behalf. Ask directly, observe patiently, and accept truth without manipulation. Disappointment creates two opposite dangers. Isolation says, because people have failed me, I will need no one. Desperation says, because I fear being alone, everyone must have access to me. One rejects correction, the other abandons boundaries. Both impair judgment. Mature connection is neither withdrawal nor overexposure. It is selective, honest, generous, and governed. Now ask the readiness question. If the opportunity arrived through people, would my present reputation communicate reliability, humility, and contribution? Choose one action today. Request one precise correction, or offer one concrete contribution. Then keep the commitment that follows. Let your purpose become trustworthy in relationship. But trustworthiness must be supported by a life that can sustain repeated demand. The next question is whether your time, health, systems, finances, and rhythms can carry what your relationships may eventually entrust to you. Capacity is not the willingness to accept responsibility. It is the sustainable ability to receive it, organize it, and continue carrying it after the excitement of beginning has disappeared. Many people can say yes once. Readiness is revealed by what your life can support repeatedly. Responsibility consumes real resources. It requires hours, energy, money, attention, and order. If demand increases while the container remains weak, important things begin to leak. Commitments are forgotten. Records become confused. Health is neglected. Relationships receive only leftovers. Work that began with enthusiasm ends in disorder and exhaustion. The problem is not always lack of devotion. Sometimes the structure beneath the devotion is too fragile. Therefore, conduct a capacity audit around the responsibility you desire. First, examine time. What hours are genuinely available after present obligations are honored? Second, examine physical and emotional energy. Can your current patterns of sleep, recovery, and emotional regulation support consistent contribution? Third, examine financial margin. Would this responsibility require transportation, training, equipment, reduced income, or other recurring costs? Fourth, examine systems. Where will information, tasks, documents, and follow-up be organized? Fifth, examine decision-making attention. How many unresolved choices and unnecessary interruptions are already consuming the focus your future work would require? Do not answer these questions with aspiration. Answer them with evidence. Then strengthen one limitation at a time. Protect a regular practice block. Build a simple budget. Organize essential records. Establish a recovery rhythm. Document a process you repeatedly perform. Reduce a low-value commitment that consumes attention without serving a present responsibility. Small structures may appear unimpressive, but sustainable purpose is often supported by arrangements nobody applauds. This is where all 5 domains meet. Character keeps you honest about your limits. Competence determines which work deserves focused practice. Planning gives that practice sequence. Relationships reveal where your inconsistency affects others. Capacity makes continued performance possible. If one domain is neglected, the others are constrained. Skill cannot compensate indefinitely for exhaustion. A schedule cannot rescue financial disorder. Supportive relationships cannot organize commitments you refuse to manage. Expansion must be governed. Do not mistake overload for capacity. Filling every hour does not prove seriousness. It may only prove that urgency has overruled judgment. Expansion creates room for meaningful responsibility. Overload removes the room required to carry it well. The goal is not maximum activity. The goal is reliable service without continual collapse. The career seeker may still have no decision, but now possesses time for deliberate work and organized evidence. The aspiring ministry leader may still lack formal opportunity, but has rhythms that can sustain study, service, and recovery. The person awaiting relational clarity can maintain health, finances, friendships, and boundaries without making uncertainty the center of life. The visionary may still lack resources or recognition, but now has records, processes, margin, and attention capable of supporting a practical beginning. The external condition may remain unchanged while readiness becomes substantially different. That completes the 5-part map: character, competence, planning, relationships, and capacity. But now comes the harder test. Can you continue this preparation if the wait lasts longer than you hoped? If preparation loses its meaning, when delay becomes prolonged, then preparation has been turned into entitlement. Readiness can increase without selection following. You may become qualified and still not receive the job. You may become trustworthy and still not receive the platform. You may become honest and healthy while a relationship does not become mutual. You may refine the vision and still discover that its imagined form cannot be sustained. Preparation strengthens your response to reality. It does not command reality to reward you. This is where hope must become honest. Endurance is not denial. Denial refuses to admit loss because admission feels like defeat. Endurance can name disappointment, grieve what is absent, rest when strength is depleted, seek counsel when judgment becomes clouded, and revise a method when evidence demands change. It does not pretend that pain is pleasure. It simply refuses to let pain become bitterness, paralysis, or reckless urgency. When the wait continues, submit the pursuit to 3 tests. First, ask, is this goal still aligned with my values? Desire can survive long after its original motive has changed. Make certain you are serving conviction, not merely protecting an old image of yourself. Second, ask, is my present strategy producing learning or only repetition? Repeating an ineffective method with greater intensity is not perseverance. If reality keeps revealing the same weakness, the responsible response is not louder effort but wiser adjustment. Third, ask, is this pursuit strengthening responsibility or consuming my life without proportion? A worthy goal should not be permitted to devour every present duty, relationship, resource, and measure of health. Sacrifice may be required. Self-erasure is not. These tests will not produce one universal answer. Releasing one route may be wisdom, not defeat. Continuing may be discipline, not stubbornness. The difference is determined by alignment, evidence, counsel, and consequences. What are trusted people observing? What has experience taught? What is this pursuit producing in your conduct? What present responsibilities are being served or neglected? Peace does not require certainty about the future. Peace is ordered attention in the present. You can act on today's responsibility, mourn what has not arrived, and decline to invent tomorrow. You can hope without assigning a date. You can prepare without demanding payment. You can rest without surrendering direction. That is sober expectation. It refuses despair because uncertainty is not a verdict. It refuses fantasy because desire is not a guarantee. It remains flexible without becoming aimless and committed without becoming consumed. The wait may continue. The route may change. The outcome may differ from the picture you carried, but delay still does not require directionlessness. Purposeful endurance preserves direction without demanding certainty. Now this entire message must become a daily rule, simple enough to practice before any door opens. Here is the rule. Build what remains yours to build. When timing is beyond your control, character is still yours to govern, competence yours to strengthen, plans yours to order, relationships yours to honor, and capacity yours to enlarge. The outcome may remain undecided, but your direction does not have to remain undefined. This is not passivity, it is preparation. Not panic, but practice. Not fabricated certainty, but sober expectation. Not directionlessness, but disciplined movement. You do not need evidence of external progress before you begin living with internal purpose. If you are waiting on a career decision, complete the next piece of useful work and make the evidence clear. If you desire to serve but lack formal permission, strengthen today's study and serve the people already within reach. If a relationship remains uncertain, speak truthfully, protect healthy boundaries, and keep caring for the life you already possess. If a long-held vision still lacks support, identify the smallest responsible test and learn from what it reveals. None of these actions can guarantee the result. Each can prepare you to meet reality with greater wisdom. Every morning ask 2 questions. What is outside my authority today? And what preparation remains within my responsibility today? The first question establishes honest limits. It keeps you from carrying decisions, reactions, schedules, and outcomes that do not belong to you. The second restores your assignment. It directs attention toward the conversation, correction, practice, plan, or structure that can receive faithful effort now. Practice this for 7 days. Each day, select 1 action from the 5 domains. Strengthen 1 character response. Practice 1 necessary skill. Clarify 1 next step. Invest honestly in 1 relationship. Improve 1 supporting rhythm or system. Choose only what can be completed responsibly. Put it on the calendar, finish it. Then record what the action revealed about your motives, readiness, limits, or next need. External silence never removed your responsibility to develop. A delayed decision did not suspend your ability to become. Therefore, do not wait for visible movement to authorize purposeful living. Live directed now. You are no longer defined only as someone waiting for permission. You are becoming more trustworthy in character, more useful in ability, more discerning in judgment, more faithful in relationship, and more capable of carrying responsibility. Whatever tomorrow brings, today can still be governed. That is purposeful waiting. Preparation without prediction, movement without panic, and hope with its feet planted firmly in the work of the present.